Welcome to my new, but still very messy hydro garden. Over here we have our grow stations. This is for seedling germination. So we got some sweet basil, some garlic chives, some baby cherry tomato hybrids, some Greek oregano. Back there, the black thing, that's a humidity sensor. And over here, we have a humidity monitor that sensor hooks up to. And then these fans on the both sides here are hooked up to this controller. So when the humidity level inside there gets to 90%, these fans kick on until it drops below 83%, and then the fans shut off. So this basically, I have it programmed to keep the humidity between 83 and 90% in here. Anything over 90% could cause mold, so hence the fans to kind of give it some fresh air so it doesn't get too stale and dank in there. And then got a heating pad underneath. This one and the one next to it, which is controlled here. And so that just makes sure that the temperature inside this doesn't get too cold. Seed germination, they tend to like the warmer, moist weather. So, and then also, see over here, this big manifold. This is coming from this other tent next to it, but this is air from the air pump. And you can kind of see the bubbles down there. So this is oxygenated water, and so that's also pumping in fresh cold air from the AC duct. That's what the air pump pulls from, is from the AC duct, and then it pumps it into the air stones in there. So it's bringing fresh air into this, and it's kind of fresh cooled air a little bit. Once these seedlings are big enough and get some good roots popping out the bottom, they get moved over to here if they're going to be a bigger plant. And inside here we got some tomatoes and some lettuce going right now. And some of these are getting some roots on them. I don't think it's viewable. You can kind of see a root popping through there a little bit. So that one and the other tomato will probably soon be moving to the tents here because they're about ready. And the nutrient system I'm using is the Microflora by General Hydroponics. It's a 3-part system. You have the Flora Micro, excuse me, and Flora Bloom, and Flora Grow. So they give you a nice chart of how much to add per milliliter, how many milliliters per gallon to add, based on how many gallons of water you have in your system. And then down here, to monitor the nutrients and temperature and the pH levels of the water for this entire system, there's this real-time monitor that just continuously monitors it and then alarms if it gets outside of range. So the top number, 440, is telling me my nutrients level, the total dissolved solids in the water. It's at a low number right now, being that all these plants that just got moved in here are all babies, but that'll probably get up to 1,000, 1,200 or so once they're grown up and can handle stronger nutrients. So that is basically, this has got the pH probe and temperature EC probe coming out here, going down, and this is the main reservoir. It's just a Rubbermaid brute container. Over here it's got 2 outlets. It's got a technically one 1/2-inch outlet coming out here, and this is going to the main tents, so I can either restrict or shut this water off going to all the tents. And you'll notice this other one that's just kind of actually looping back in. This actually will unplug from here and has a coupler on it, so I can hook up another drainage hose, and so I can flip this off and turn this one on, and then this pump in here will pump the water from all the containers out to be drained. So it'll effectively empty all these containers, and then they would just get auto-filled back up for a fresh batch. So this is the main reservoir. In the top right corner is just the autofill valve. You can see a blue line going in there. That's just a 1/4-inch tubing from reverse osmosis system. So it gets nice clean water whenever it does get topped off. And then this is the 1/2-inch tube going out. Inside this bag is the actual pump being used here. You can't see it because all the nutrients in the water make it pretty brown. But that's in there. The bag is basically acting as a filter. It's a very fine micro mesh. And so, you know, any fuzzies that are floating through the air that get into the water, whatever, would get caught by that. Down there's the pH probe and the TDS meter. And then down there, a bit of reflection, but you can kind of see the 2 inlets coming in. And if you see those tubes coming in down there, you can see them flowing in down there. So this is the main reservoir with all the nutrients, and main water is maintained. And then this pump pumps it out to all the other containers in the system. And there is each of the incomings has a shut off in case I need to swap out any buckets or containers, whatnot. And then, of course, the must-have water alarm. Always a good thing to have. We'll go to the first tent here. I got some motion activated LEDs that turn on, these strips that are installed once you go into the tent. So these are not on all the time, just when you enter, so that when the main lights here are off, you can still see in here. So there's a 950 gallon per hour air pump here. And like I mentioned, it's pulling straight from the AC duct, so you see the black hose coming out here. Follow that over, and you can see it drawing right out of the incoming AC duct in this tent here. And there's the little babies. So this is going to be just a tomato tent. So it's we got one 600 watts LED grow light. These have been great lights. Here's the info, but it's going to be upside down and probably a little blurry. Here we have an 8-inch exhaust duct that pulls from both tents. And then down here, you can see the incoming port coming from the reservoir. It's being split off. This is the incoming 1/2-inch is being split off 2 ways. One way, you see it wrapping up and going to these 3 buckets, and then it ends here. The other one that's splitting, follow it goes, and it's going straight to this other tent, which I'll show you in a moment. And then, of course, the 1-inch drainage tubes that go through both tents. And so we got a mega cherry tomato here. Been pruning a little bit. These were just put in here, so they're pretty small. This one's a mighty mini cherry tomato. And this one is a heirloom cherry tomato. And then over in the big tent here, we got a 1200 gallon per hour air pump in here with cooling fan. Got the 1/8-inch exhaust in the back. You see the cooling fan's also flowing from the incoming AC duct. Or I'm sorry, the air pump is flowing from the incoming AC duct. And then we have a fan that's blowing the incoming AC right down onto the lettuce. So the way these are set up is there is a incoming T-splitter, and then there's 3 sprayers on each of these, and each bucket has its own 4-inch air stone to aerate the water, and it also keeps the nutrients alive and healthy. And so when this kicks on, it turns on every 10 minutes and will be on for 2 minutes, but those sprayers will basically spray a kind of a fine mist or kind of a spritz of water that kind of hits the bottom of this bucket area and will basically spray the nutrient solution on the roots that are extending down going into the water. And so you'll see the incoming port down there. That's where the kind of drainage and incoming is coming through here. And then these two are the same size as the reservoir. These are both 20-gallon tubs. And these are also hooked up to the reservoir. The drainage one going there. And then the incoming one splits off to a T to both of them there. So this is actually just kicked on, so I can't really show you inside too well, but it's going to be spraying. You can see the spraying water there. And so that's the Aeroponics system. It has its own 1,000 gallon per hour pump on it, and it basically just tees off to both of them at the bottom there, and then pumps up to the top and tees off. And each of these have a PVC pipe structure inside of them that have a bunch of the same little green sprayers that you saw in these buckets as well. And these are elevated up on a platform some, so that the water level stays about the same as the buckets at the same height, but these need to be a lower water level with the Aeroponics design for them. So currently we just have salad greens growing in here. Those are pretty new. And then some easy lettuce. And some bib lettuce. And basil. There's the inside of it. It's done spraying now. So we're getting kind of spray from all sides and angles in here. And then this one has a shallower water basin there. And each of these tubs has 3 4-inch air stones in it and 5-inch net pots.